Okay, great. This is a course on AI ethics and governance. This is just an introduction. I will be glossing over some of the topics. I will be treating shallow, in passing some of the topics in the hope that you will have a drill down sessions on some of the topics concerned. Now, so AI ethics and governance. May I know who among you are from SUCs? Can I get raised hands? Are all of you from SUCs or looks local universities? Isa lang. I didn't manage to get the profile of people. So in any case, I want you to be really self-interested. Be self-interested in this session. If you have concerns, please type in via questions or chat if that's possible for you. Anything that will engage you, because normally I would have a full profile of the participants, and I will have to ask probing questions meant to engage the participants. So we'll see how much engagement can happen now. So nakapag-breakfast naman siguro kayo. So ethics, AI is everywhere. It's not just some. Well, of course, looming large would be generative AI such as ChatGPT, but then it's everywhere already. You may not be aware that when you use your phones, there's some amount of AI there. When you open your Netflix, when you do your Facebook, and so on, there's AI. So AI ethics is not alien. It's not out there in the future. It's right there in our midst. All right. So some time ago, Amazon. I don't know if you order stuff from Amazon, but some time ago they had a tool for hiring people trained using the data set they have for decades, and then it turned out that it was biased against women, partly because the training data used was dominated by male applicants. No? So lalaki lagi napupunta sa tech. So can I just get raised hand for women on the audience? Sino kayo mga kababaihan dito? Yung iba kasi naka alias, no? So even here in this crowd, in this call, mas marami ang lalaki. So if we have to use some service using our data in this cohort, it will be biased towards men. So there is a development framework we developed out of our consultations and literature review and interviews, with key informants, industry leaders. Please have a look at ai-ph.org/devframe. That's the latest, and the idea is to keep on updating that as necessary. So please have a look at that. Can I have a heart sign if you're able to access that? Please. Nakikinig ba kayo? Heart sign kung nakikita ba yan. If you have a dual screen, it's good to be interacting as well. So, kahit hindi tayo nakikita. Rondonil, are you able to access that? Because many of the things I will discuss today are in that document. Rose, are you able to access that as well? If not, I will remedy the situation because it's really an important document and guidance for this course. Sadat, Sandra, Emeline, nandyan pa ba kayo? Let me see a sign of life. Yes, sir. Very good. Okay, good. Sige. Now, so as I said, we have consulted many sectors. It's important that we consult them continually. There are changes, fast changes. As a matter of fact, as early as yesterday, as late as yesterday, and I will show in one of my slides, there was a significant development in Southeast Asia. A few weeks ago, there was a significant development in Europe, and that is the passing of the AI Act. So mabilis po itong field na to. Malulula ka. If you're an AI developer, can I get a heart sign if you're an AI developer? Just to know my audience. So if you're an AI developer, every day it's like hundreds of papers coming out on AI. If you're in the technical side, no. So nakakalula. So you need AI to be able to manage AI references because the onslaught of development is just mind-boggling. No? So ito yung contents. Don't worry, we only have an hour or so. By the way, organizers, please alert me pag malapit na because I have the tendency to digress. And at least for me, that's more interesting than sticking to the script all the time. So these are the topics, but I will certainly be ignoring some of them for the purposes of introduction. Just for this section, but hopefully down the line, we'll do a drill down of these topics. No? So I will be skipping data management, for instance, internal and external governance structures, and we'll just go straight to some risk-based governance issues. All right. So we have to have a framework. Why do we need a framework? Because we want to be on the same page in terms of shared principles and values. Now we have to be clear that we are sharing the same perspective, or at least some values while moving towards different perspectives, but at least we have a core to begin with. It also affords us to integrate plans, policy choices, approaches, strategies, procedures into some kind of a guidance document. Otherwise, sabog tayo. No? As you've seen, countries who have been really methodical in their pursuit of AI, they have this framework. Okay, so framework of rules and practices. It's not going to tell you what to do all the time to micromanage you if you're an AI developer. It's just to make sure that we have some kind of a direction, at least as a country. No? So we have the national roadmap. It's also linked from the document that I just shared with you. The idea is to harness AI potential to uplift Filipinos, our local industries, and our economy. We'll be using, in other words, tax money. And if we have to do that, we have to be accountable. No? So having that kind of roadmap is at least part of that exercise of accountability. No? So we're not going to be spending money on a whim. Right? So value-based principles to guide development and utilization of AI. That's the whole idea. We have these values, and if you're the audio type, let me just type to you and if you are able to multitask in a way. I have some videos for you if you're the multimedia type. So one, inclusive growth, sustainable development, and well-being. I'll explain that in a bit. Human-centric values and fairness, transparency and explainability, robustness, security and safety, accountability and trust. These are OECD principles, streamlined for our purposes, and we added the sixth one, which is on trust. And I'll explain to you why we need that kind of principle. You'll also notice that if you compare this with other sets of guidelines or other sets of principles, so-called, for AI, you'll see that we have collapsed some of these principles. The reason being, they are very related and they tend to cluster towards these principles. The idea is about parsimony, explaining more with less. So if you've seen some other guidance, some other principles, you say they're like 20, they're like 12. No, I want to keep it lean, the set lean, and hence only 6. and you'll see, hopefully it's justified in your eyes. No, so look at inclusive growth, sustainable development, and well-being. This is articulated in our Philippine Innovation Act. There's funding and support for R&D efforts in the country, AI research, and sustainable development. No, so there are many issues around here. There's Philippines is growing, but it's not necessarily benefiting the poorest of the poor. So the Philippines, and we've been agonizing over this fact, is a highly unequal country. Maraming mayayaman, napakadaming mahihirap. And if we have to move as a country, it's not enough that we grow as a country, but we make sure that the growth is equitably shared. No? I've been saying, because my university is doing a pivot in BARM, for BARM and other geographically isolated, disadvantaged areas. If we cannot save BARM, if you cannot save the poorest of the poor in the country, you cannot save the Philippines. So that's the idea of inclusive growth, and later on you see equity. Sustainable development, or development cannot be sustainable if we don't include the poor. AI's burdens and benefits have to be shared equitably, as we were saying. AI cannot just be in Metro Manila. AI cannot just be for a few, or for at least the technically capable like you, going on Zoom. So 2030, there is potential to increase global economic activity by around 13 trillion. That's of course the best estimate so far, but it could be larger than that. You'll see that the world's richest, yung mga trillionaires, they are into AI in one form or another. Amazon, Tesla, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates. You cannot be rich and not do AI. 70% of companies would have adopted at least one form of AI technology. If you're from SUCs, this is inescapable. I will be doing a workshop on AI research. On AI aided research next week. That's courtesy of the Philippine Social Sciences Council. And the idea is, even for university, when you probably just would like to talk about AI as opposed to actually doing AI, you'll have the university being powered by AI itself. AI can cause significant boost in labor productivity. This is an extrapolation, 30-40%. I see that happening or impacting my very own productivity. It's hard for me to imagine doing work without AI. There has to be some kind of AI service. Some of you may have attention deficit disorder, and so you would want AI to do a summary, for things that are TLDR, so too long didn't read, so especially if it's a casual inspection of the document. That's how I deal with AI anyway. So for you, I think that's the spelling. That's one I use for dealing with voluminous documents and I'm in a hurry. Otherwise, you would want to savor the pros. So inclusive growth, sustainable development, well-being. There are many interconnections that we can do. That can deal with later on in so much more details, nuance. But for now, let's consider also the possibility that everything here is just a hype. Hype, may nakinabang. Sino ba sa inyo nananalugi na sa crypto, for instance? Or in the internet bubble in the 1990s? Sino dito yung biktima o nakinabang? But in any case, it's possible that at least for generative AI, it has already peaked or it is approaching peak of inflated expectations. There's just so much magical thinking around AI. Oh my God, this and that. But maybe we have to temper the hysteria, because that could really be just inflated expectations. So I urge you, if you're not immersed in AI just yet, to really immerse yourself in AI and make AI boring to you. No? So kailangan maging maboard tayo sa AI. So far for me, not so much just yet. I have a discussion last night with my wards, and I was asking the question, umiinom ba ng tubig ang isda? And then I was asking them, how do you answer that? How do you find the tools to be able to answer that question? So these are kids. So I think that's where you want to go through some kind of productive use of AI, but it gets worse before it gets better, and that is when we get through the disillusionment phase. No, ay yun lang pala ang AI. Ay yun lang pala ang generative AI. We need more to be able to push the boundaries of knowledge, of learning, of ways of knowing. So we will have to be disillusioned, and then from there you get to the slope of enlightenment, and from there hopefully will be truly productive. No? So my sense right now is that we're approaching, if not already approached, the peak of inflated expectations, no, as a society. Marami pa, no, inflated na teachers are rattled by the possibility that, you know, if it's online learning, for instance, the online teacher, and they do Q&A or quiz, the students will just chat GPT the questions, no, and it's happening already. And some teachers anyway are not equipped to deal with that. Or if the boss would ask the staff to write a report, and the staff will just do chat GPT. Letters are already full of AI compositions. So I've detected emails of that sort. No, I hope this email finds you well, and I cannot help but associate that with ChatGPT. No, so hopefully we'll get over that inflated expectations and we'll be disillusioned, because that's when we are starting to recover and get to real productivity as a society. So the other principle is human-centered values and fairness. Treating people fairly. The example I gave you about Amazon discriminating against women. You also see that about credits, people's capacity for loans, or ability to get loans, and how much. So far, it's not been fair. Women tend to be disadvantaged. People of color, especially in image recognition. Partly because ImageNet, the repository, the training data used for image recognition, you can look it up, ImageNet. It's mostly made up of pictures or images of white men, at least for people images, no? So it cannot be fair like that. No? Avoid algorithmic decisions and their discriminatory consequences. You have training data that is implicitly biased. When you release it into the open for commercial purposes, you'll see that it tends to discriminate. Fairness entails respect for human rights and data privacy and rights. This is where the EU has been coming down hard and hoping that their standard will become de facto standard for the world. Because they've been successful already for that, especially in privacy. You see that our privacy, hello to people who have been victimized by PhilHealth, Philippine Statistical Authority, and lately DOST, yung kanilang scientist database, no, experts database. There have been breaches, and these breaches tend to compromise people's data privacy. So that is very much that area is very much dominated by European standards on privacy and human rights. AI is special in that there are no standards just yet. So why is that? We have to ask ourselves. So we have to protect human rights. CHR there is an office in Amnesty International specifically devoted to human rights and AI, because you'll see that many of our rights could potentially be undermined by AI. So fairness is a particular issue for startups and the representatives from academia in our consultations. But we need a clear and ambiguous definition of fairness that is somehow absent in discussions just yet. Because when you say fair, does it mean equality? Maybe not, because our starting points have never been equal. The possibility, if the regulators would allow, is to look at the most disadvantaged, the least minimally advantage among us, and to uplift them to get to the level where they are, or they will become functional in a society dominated by AI. Or at the very least, there has to be compliance, and that is easier said than done, because how can you comply when there are no standards, especially in AI? So the other principle is robustness, security, and safety. I hope we'll have a separate session drill down on this, because there are many intricacies involved here. Robustness, especially required for for risky situations. But as you can see in social media, it could be risky, yet there are no clear standards. Supposedly the community policing policies of Facebook, for instance, seem to be inadequate to guard against misinformation, for instance. Security, as you can see, I think it's not reasonable anymore to maintain that you are a private person. There's so much data released. So how many of you have participated in elections? Can I get a raised hand? Okay. Can I get a heart sign for those of you who have already registered with the Philippine Statistical Authority? Can I get a thumbs up if you have already have a PhilHealth membership? Rose, Sadat, Serene, Ramat. Because if you've done so, if you are any of those, congratulations. Your identities have already been released online. As a matter of fact, if you have, I'm not that I'm encouraging it, because the National Privacy Commission is about to release a directive telling people not to access the data sets available out there. It's like 500 plus gigabytes of data, the PhilHealth breach. The Comelec breach is like 300 gigabytes of data. So all those combined, you're talking about millions of Filipinos. So most likely, if you have participated in any of the data processing at PhilHealth, Philippine Statistical Authority, DOST, Comelec, right? Your personal information is already out there. And if you know the dark web, it's there for your picking. So we have to consider this we have to take this very seriously, because with AI, the security challenges will be amplified, because the machines are the original, are the are the monster mariteses. No, they talk to each other. No, and AI, it's like it's destined to be a beast feeding on information of people. So that is a serious concern. So we have to have a robust AI ecosystem with safeguards against possible errors, looking at safety, especially, for instance, if you have self-driving cars, no, I mean, not available just yet in the Philippines, but there's some kind of there's some amount in a way of autonomy, robotics. My university has been proud to have acquired robotic surgery, an equipment for that, control of electric power grid. So these considerations would require greater attention for safety, security, and robustness of AI. Now, accountability. Actors have to assume responsibility and accountability in their roles, environments, or context. You will have to be looking at these components: responsibility, who's going to be, in charge of the operations, who's going to be answerable for errors and damage, sanctionability, that as a matter of fact, we can sanction them. Now, in contrast to privacy, it's very clear that if you violate privacy, if you conceal, which is what happened to PhilHealth, no? Nag-conceal sila, sabi nila, ay, wala lang yan. It turned out na hindi nga totoo, na wala lang yan, no? Kasi yung unang press release, sinabi nila kaagad, hindi naman na-compromise yung aming original database, wala lang yan. Well, further investigation showed nung hindi na sila nag-respond sa malware, hindi sila nagbayad dun sa ransomware. It turned out na marami pala talagang personal data. So sa privacy, you have clear levels of sanctions. No, I think that one would involve the PhilHealth violations, would involve millions of damages and imprisonment. So I heard that the CIO has suffered stroke because of the experience, and people now in PhilHealth are kind of defensive. If you have relatives in PhilHealth, they're very much on the defensive. So if you ask them questions, the response would be something like, talk to my lawyer. And the idea is they are highly sanctionable. When it comes to AI, the regulations have still to be put in place, because unlike privacy, where there is clear sanctions, in AI, not yet. So probably we should be rushing to put in the right sanctions now. So the next principle, the fifth principle, is transparency and explainability. Transparency of policies, rules, and regulations. It's indispensable to what we are as a society. There is a proposal from Europe. They have released, they have finalized a few weeks ago the text on AI Act, and the implementation is expected late 2025 to early 2026. There are pressures to rush this because there's just so much AI happening. And at least the Europeans, the people in Europe, they would need guidance. So these areas, interaction with humans, so we already do that to some respect. We interact with Netflix. You have Facebook, you have IG, you have TikTok. All these are platforms that use AI and interacting with humans. Used to detect emotions or determine association with social categories based on biometric data. You have this in some applications. Generating or manipulating content, we call deep fakes, synthetic media. I would have to be transparent that, as a matter of fact, I'm a user of synthetic media. There are many platforms out there. I'm trying out lately the video I just shared with you. I'm now in the midst of translating that to Filipino without having to redub in Filipino. And soon, I look forward to lecturing or to doing this online session with just a hologram. It's useful, primarily because I'm not able to do by location. I cannot be in two places at the same time, and conflicts of schedule is unavoidable. No, so for that use, you can have synthetic media or so-called deep fakes. Now, of course, there's stigma to the word fake, but it could just be that you want to maximize your assets. For instance, you have a good voice, you are a celebrity, and somehow you want to perpetuate your work, your memory, through synthetic media, so that you can allow people, greater audience, to enjoy your work. That's one use of synthetic media. But of course, there's downside. You can make Obama speak Trump. No, that's easy to do. You make Obama, talk or articulate Trump talking points. No, that's one. I suppose a bad use of synthetic media. No, so transparency requires that AI system has to be understandable even to non-technical stakeholders. Now, that is a very serious proposal. Why? Because our population is not really AI literate. No? In contrast to Finland, where there's a very conscious effort to make their population AI literate. No? 10%. That's their minimum. So they have done massive campaign, massive instruction, massive training to make their population at least AI literate. Because if you are going to consume AI, you might as well understand what's going on. And that is part of transparency. It's hard to make this, development explainable to non-technical people, so much more to non-educated people. And note that the Philippines suffers very low reading proficiency. So, nasa mababa tayo sa ranking in terms of reading proficiency. And if you cannot read, you cannot do AI. Much more understand what's really going on with AI. So, you have to understand that, AI has to be explainable. No? That automated and algorithmic decisions, any associated data driving those decisions, can be explained to end users and other stakeholders in non-technical terms. Much we're trying to do today. No? So if there is any technical term you've heard from me, please write via chat, and I'll try to explain myself as clearly as I can. No? So there are still issues around this area, because it's fine and dandy. You tell people that you aspire to be transparent and make your AI explainable. On the other hand, AI itself escapes explainability from the very people creating AI. So even AI engineers are unable to explain the mechanism in generative AI. So pag tinanong mo yung ChatGPT engineers, bakit ganito, lumabas ang ganyan, good luck. There is an amount of black boxiness of AI systems, especially in their present iteration in terms of generative AI such as Bard, ChatGPT, Claude. And the idea is even made worse by having trillions of parameters. Trillions of parameters being used to produce certain output, and that is not easily to track. That is not easily tracked, rather. Nonlinear models make extremely challenging the mapping of relationship between input features and output predictions. Am I understood so far? Chester, Chito, Christopher? I'm a teacher, so in my face-to-face classes, it's always like, I go around, I practice peripatetic pedagogy. Kamusta ka na? Malapit na. Lumalapit ako sa kanila, sa mga estudyante ko. But somehow, of course, I cannot do that here. So, at least show some sign of life, that you are not a robot. Or you are, in fact, real. Hi, Ma'am Joy, Lelaine, ICCLSU, Ryan. So, let me know if you have any concerns. So far, so clear, according to John. Thank you, John, for the feedback. Okay, so sixth principle. So we have five principles so far articulated, collapsed, compressed from the OECD guidelines. And I'm saying that we need additional principle to make this work, especially in the Philippines. No? For one, transparency is good, but you have to contend with the fact that even as the governments, most governments in the world have become more transparent, they have not necessarily become more trustworthy. So there is a disconnect between transparency and trustworthiness. So kahit yung kasama mo open book, no? He or she is not necessarily trustworthy for you. Same with AI. AI developers can be transparent, can be accountable, but people do not necessarily trust them. So trust is a distinct principle. It's something that we can develop, no, as a people, that we become more trustworthy, trusting rather, to our AI developers, because they cannot thrive if regulators would keep on breathing down their neck at every turn. You need them to have some space to develop their ideas, to develop their applications. No, they need some peace and quiet, and that requires trust. No, we will be funneling money, we'll be moving money towards their direction, and if it's going to be, auditing, nickel and diming them. There's an expression for by Americans, nickel and diming, meaning titingin mo kasi you don't trust. Then you don't trust them, then it's going to be counterproductive in the mid to long run, no? Even in the short run, especially. No? So there has to be some kind of faith in what they do. There are regulations that will provide oversight, overwatch in this area. There will be mechanisms to ensure safety, security, robustness, fairness, transparency, and other required attributes. Otherwise, we just have to trust them. So I will just run through the elements of governance. We don't have time to drill down these areas, but governance discussions is gaining currency in private sector, especially in boards. But you can also think of the government as some kind of a corporation, and pretty much that's what Singapore is. No, we're not Singapore, of course, but the idea is that you have leaders of industry side by side with leaders in government, providing oversight. There are communication tools that we have to use. There's specific culture that we want to imbibe that respects ethics and proper and accountable behavior. There is human behavior, the complexity of its complexity and all being accounted for. and information that aligns, or at least enables us to understand each other and push the agenda further. No? So, maraming elements yan. As I said, I will just be skipping some of those. All of this, because hopefully down the line we'll have a drill down of these items. No? Investment in priorities, architecture, audit, coordination, governance framework, all this. If your company or organization is keen on following ISO standards, there are already ISO standards for this, no? Even AI, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. I'm saying that we can just dovetail standardization efforts, quality assurance, quality management efforts with AI governance. No, there's no need to exercise exceptionalism in AI too much, because as it is, it's creating some exceptions already primarily because of its speed of development, no, and uncertainty around the development of AI. No, so principles, policies, steering committee for our corporations or for our of our institution. There's governance committee, there are organizational structures, there's upskilling, reskilling of people, looking at their competencies, make sure that there are enough resources and there are appropriate competencies to govern AI, and of course to develop AI primarily. No? There is discussion about performance management, regulatory compliance, which is largely absent in AI just yet, primarily because there are no standards. Resource management, risk management, this is important, especially because we're moving so much resources. There's always risk, that we'd fail. So you want to manage risk early on. No? Service infrastructure applications, as a matter of fact, this is all you see in AI. No, at least in upfront. Stakeholder management, this is part of the exercise, I suppose, where we have to educate our people what are the risks, what is really AI is about, the promise and the dangers, no, and the risk. No? Alignment of AI. Now, alignment is a very loaded term in AI. You can look it up. Can you look up this? Paki-search nyo na lang. It's called the alignment problem in AI. See where that leads you. No? And the idea is you have a system, an AI system, that is supposed to follow the values of its creators. And ultimately, of course, the regulation. So you can create AI supposedly only when you promise to align your AI, your system, to values of society. So that you cannot create an AI that discriminates, for instance, the LGBTQ, that discriminates people of color or the indigenous peoples of the Philippines. That cannot be allowed. You need to be aligning your AI with shared values of society. No, that's not an option for you. It's a requirement. No? So, alignment problems. Now, AI, if it's autonomous, there is a possibility that it will rewrite its code and not be aligned with society anymore, with the values of society. And that is a scary thought. No? You'll see some examples later on. No? So, ayaw pala niya ng sinasabi mong values. So, we'll create its own values. Now, that is dangerous. No? So, you'll have to be doing strategic planning because there's finite resources primarily. There's going to be a trade-off if you have to invest in one particular aspect of AI. The practice of AI is so diverse. No? You have the Netflix type, to mining, to precision agriculture, to resilience. every aspect of our lives is AI-able. You understand? So that you cannot be investing in everywhere, on everything. It takes champions. But as a people, as government, you'll say, my money will have to go to confidential funds. Or we'll have to go to this particular type of AI, because it cannot be all AI. That much I know. So you have to plan, you have to understand the kind of value you deliver, the added value that you produce as a result of doing AI. No? So marami dyan concerns. I will just not dwell on this too much. I will leave the slides for you to look at this in greater detail. I've already taken up some of the aspects here, but these are the framework. I mean, these elements would constitute the governance framework for AI. Now, as you can see, if you are an ISO type of guy, you can pretty much map as well. You can pretty much see that this is an abstraction of many ISO standards, out there, and other standards, non-ISO. So I will go faster now and move to this part. So human centricity for outcomes and processes, you understand that AI will have, by definition, when you say AI is an autonomous system, there's just about that is removed from humans. What we're saying now is that if it's not just about the values that inform the AI system, it could also be that literally human will come in, and we'll take that up later. So values informing the development of AI, at the core or the foundation of AI, whether it's an intelligent network, radio network, or some other systems, it's also about serving human purposes. And this may seem obvious to some of us, but remember the possibility that AI gets to acquire relative autonomy. And there is very strong prospect that AI can rewrite its own code. So you put in a system, you put a box, and you coded it, but then supposedly it's hardwired not to change its code. But if AI becomes really powerful, it should be allowed to write its own code. Now, how much of its code can be rewritten? How much of it cannot be rewritten at all? No, because if AI had to be adaptive, it will have to introduce new codes. You understand? But what if the new codes introduced would change fundamentally the very nature of that AI system? So, saying that AI solutions should be human-centered is easier said than done, especially moving into the future. So improvement of HR processes, we are going through some exercises at one point or another. Augmentation tools for human resource assessment. How do you assess productivity if there are many more metrics to consider? You would probably be needing an AI for that as well. This is what I've been saying all along, that autonomous systems or functions is to some degree out of human control. Kaya nga, auto means self-regulation, self-governing, autonomy, So if you have that machine that is autonomous, how can you say that you have human control? When it's running, even in your sleep, that's one consideration. Human involvement needs some qualifications, therefore, because of what I said. High-risk applications of AI would especially need humans in the loop. And that is especially recommended for highly risky systems, for high-risk systems. It's okay. It's one thing to have AI running in a factory when there are no people. It's another thing to have AI running in the streets And right now, the problem of AI for at least autonomous cars is object permanence. So magkatabi yung dalawang kotse, may sunod dito na AI, wala na siyang full view dyan, may tao dito na nawala sa mata o sa consciousness ng AI, nawala yung tao. But humans know that hindi naman siya nawala. It's possible na nag-cross sa street. That's where accidents happen because AI, having an object permanence problem, will just go straight, thereby hitting the human being who crossed the street, the child. Understand? So you need humans in the loop. So even if you have an autonomous driving car, in these situations where AI parameters tell you that it's potentially confusing to humans to drive in that complex situation scenario, the control should automatically be ceded to humans and not allow the car to proceed because it's very risky. No? So if you've ridden a Tesla, you'll probably understand this. No? So in Amsterdam, I rode a Tesla and the driver beside me is having lunch. So it was basically useless in that situation. No, he was not doing driving at all. He was just having this conversation with me, eating his lunch, and I allowed it because Netherlands. Anyway, but probably maybe not so much when you're in the city center. You will probably need humans in the loop. So, New Zealand is leading this, against killer robots. Interestingly, France, US, Britain, China, Russia is not adhering to this. Manipulative and exploitative practices. Maybe social media is guilty of this. Maybe you should have a law prohibiting that kind of practice. In AI, social media tends to amplify hate and not so much amplification of good thoughts. So kung magpapa-good vibes ka sa Facebook mo versus you spread hate, if you run an experiment like that, I'm pretty sure that the hateful posting will get more reaction than your good vibes. As a matter of fact, nakukornihan ako sa mga good vibes. So mayroon ka naman sigurong Viber or Messenger group pag may mga klasika na nagpo-post ng mga prayer, ng mga okay lang yan sa simula. After a while, sobrang corny na yung mga sinasabi nila. But if you can see postings of hate, they will be amplified. Why? The algorithm says so. Now, it can be used for manipulation, like in elections, for instance, certain outcomes, certain image, certain reputation you need to repair. Okay, that somehow si Apo was a hero, then you'll have a different algorithm. I mean, you have a mechanism for that. Indiscriminate surveillance, that is probably going to be a contentious issue when you contrast London surveillance, because there is just so much density for surveillance cameras in London versus surveillance in, say, Beijing or Shanghai for different purposes. So, but I mean, for the same, fundamentally the same purposes, but the people running the surveillance would be different. Social scoring, this is your basically Xi Jinping China, where social scoring is in effect. So if you're a bad citizen, you don't get to travel to other parts of the world because you're bad for China. Social scoring, you get to be scored by your own demeanors. If you're seen as throwing garbage in the street, your social score is going to come down. Why is that bad? You ask yourself. Maybe in the discussion we'll take that out. But that's one of the prohibited uses of AI, at least in the European context. Manipulation, indiscriminate surveillance, Social scoring, as I said, a discussion about that is pretty much in the fore of European AI. And the idea is that it violates human rights. It's possible that you could be unjustly discriminated against, no? Now, when we pursue governance, there are many parameters, there are many values that could drive such mechanism, that such dynamic. But one of the central considerations should be risk. No, the more risky AI is, the more governance mechanisms have to be put in place. The more regulation. The least risky, dapat hindi naman ganon. No? So we'll have to approach it in terms of overall risk attendant to the AI system. No? So there's an accounting for that, bias leading to discrimination, lack of explainability, high impact cyber attack, erosion of privacy, low accuracy, misinformation, and so on. No? Just have a look at this in the document I gave you earlier. But there are also real-world dramatic consequences. So this is an Australian mayor. He was running for office. He is a celebrity in Australia because a decade ago he exposed a banking fraud, an international banking fraudulent scheme. So he was a celebrity. But when his people inquired about him in ChatGPT, according to ChatGPT, this mayor has been convicted of the same crime he was trying to avert. So that is so much reputational cost at issue. If you look at this, people actually die when they talk to robots. So if you're mentally unstable, you have self-harm, suicidal ideations, I suggest you don't get near generative AI, especially if it's not well-trained. No? Because just like this man, you could end your life. No? It's possible that the robot will tell you you're consuming too much food, and if you want to save the planet, you're consuming too much greenhouse gas, producing too much greenhouse gases. You have too much carbon footprint. Help the rest of humanity by killing yourself, and that is, the implications are staggering. And already our children are suffering from mental health issues. They come in contact with AI that is not trained to handle this, and it could be very dangerous. All right, so we have to think in terms of risk, clearly identified and being mitigated, so that we can have a safe AI. So just recently, there's a move to append that kind of move, that direction, and it's just going to be anything goes. EU is saying that there should be common rules for the entire world, EU or not, but somehow some robust regulations to guide AI, providing some guardrails to our developers, to our systems. But then the unintended consequence would be something like regulatory arbitrage. No, so you think, just to explain to you the concept of arbitrage. So you are earning in dollars as pension, and you're going to spend that in the Philippines because of the power of the dollar. You have a strong dollar. In the US, you probably cannot afford you a mansion, but when you come to the Philippines, your retirement affords you a mansion plus a squad of servants. So you are exercising financial arbitrage or currency arbitrage. When a regulation, you are a European company, but Europe is so strict. come to the Philippines, where the regulations are not strict. You can do forum shopping because when you have your business permit approved, Europe would say, what are you compliant with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? You come to the Philippines, there's only one requirement: money, for instance. So this is one of the things we have to consider, right? So Tapion regulations could be futile. I've been provoking my colleagues, telling them that AI regulation is like regulating the weather. You're trying to regulate something that is so complex, no? What made you believe that you can in fact regulate AI? There's this little AI, there's big AI, and many, many things in between, right? Regulations can also have unintended, unanticipated consequences. You know that our laws supposedly are intended to produce good results, but the unintended, anticipated consequences are really bad. No, I'm speaking, for instance, of loss on research in the Philippines. No? Supposedly intended to make the Philippines rich, but as a matter of fact, the researchers are fleeing. No? Instead of stimulating development, it becomes preventing, or it's preventive, or it's stifling development. So many problems when we talk of regulation, and people would tend to conflate governance with regulation and legislation. Para sa kanila, governance, idaan mo yan kay congressman. And that is a dangerous recipe because our congressmen are not necessarily educated in the finer points of AI. So if they are AI educated, well and good. But it's a very, to be charitable, it's a very diverse group, no? Heterogeneous group, where you have more dangerous people than benign ones, no? So that's a problem when you do top-down AI regulation. Maybe bias is also inescapable. No? There are obviously bad biases. No? If I make sense, no. If you discriminate against women, LGBTQ, if your social scoring violates human rights, training data, and so on. But there could already be a bias latent in AI system, and that is bias against AI literacy. So if you go on ChatGPT, you don't know what you're doing, maybe you will be producing more good than harm. For instance, our students would do ChatGPT and cut and paste it to their assignment. That's probably a seriously bad practice. And some teachers, and this is really alarming, because there is one tech school in Metro Manila banning their students from using ChatGPT. And that only creates more interest if you ban something. And so, wag daw gamitin. So dito sa klase, walang internet, mamano-manuhin natin to. There's probably a good use for such practice, but for most part, you cannot also be doing instruction without AI, because AI shortens the feedback loop and accelerates learning. If your learning is not AI enabled or AI powered, you are shortchanging yourself. No? But as I said, there is bias against AI illiteracy already at play. So the other question about risk is the kind of digital order we have. We know that we are not as an AI superpower. The British Embassy reached out to me because they said, Britain would want to be an AI superpower. They probably need Filipinos to run their AI systems or to develop their AI systems. So let's accept the fact that we're not an AI superpower. So what are we in the digital order? We could just be data donors, analogous to organ donors. No? We just donate our data, and the services will come down to us, and we'll consume the services, we'll pay, but there's not much innovation on our end. There are alternatives, large to large language models like ChatGPT, there's Llama, there's Orca, many more out there. Maybe we could use them. Maybe we have a place in the digital sun, under the digital sun. So how are we going to position ourselves given that we are not a superpower? So if you look at this, no, mabilis talaga ang development. The efficiency is up to that in matter of weeks. Maybe we have a fighting chance developing our own AI systems, even if we don't have the compute that would take to develop Bard level, chat level kind of generative AI. So paano tayo lalaban? Meron naman siguro, without having to be producing or using large language models. Less than large language models maybe. So if you look at that, this is a comparative sense of what's really going on. Maybe we cannot afford the large language models, but if we are so efficient with less than large language models, maybe we can develop AI systems that are truly useful for our people.